Earnings for Q1 are nearly here, and Tesla is going to show what is going on. Now, by the numbers, we do know that Model Y is still the best-selling car. We know that Model 3 is always in the top positions as well. In Europe and in America is in the position number 2. And then we can see the rest are just following in line. Producing electric vehicles is not a joke, and there is a storm brewing for a while in China. And Elon Musk said that he's not worried about any legacy automaker that has been existing for over 100 years, like the like of GM and Ford. He said that the threat can come from China. Now, what about this Tesla storm? What is going on? What are the earnings going to be like? I guess we are going to find out tonight after the market closes. Welcome, my friends. You are watching the Better Future Project, where we are all about sharing positivity, knowledge, and having a good time together. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about the narrative of the media. They are currently saying that EV sales are again dropping. We proved into the last episode that the world sales of EV cars is growing significantly. And there is something else that we can use as a knowledge for our own understanding of where is the world going from and to. Why is this possible? Because sometimes to see the future, you have to turn around and see the past. But sometimes the future is happening at the same time, just in different places. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about China sales and what is happening in there in terms of EV sales and hybrids. And then we're going to talk about the rest of the world. So in China, in the beginning of April, for the first 2 weeks, which is basically until a few days ago, the EV penetration went over 50%. China is no joke because it's the biggest EV market out there, and it's the biggest automobile market out there. So if you want to sell cars, China is the biggest car market. But what is happening and why electric vehicles are starting to dominate this big, huge, massive market? Well, EV cars are very efficient. They are getting cheaper. They're getting into mass production. And China government is saying, well, we had enough of bad air, pollution. We just don't want that anymore. Let's take these vehicles. Let's stop burning these fumes and petrol and diesel sources of energy, and let's just replace this with renewables, and then let's use the renewables and the energy they're producing towards a new way of transportation, which is obviously electric cars. So the Chinese government is imposing 2 different measures. The first one is they are punishing anyone who wants to buy a normal internal combustion engine. They have to pay excruciating amount of sum of money, and they need to get a permit, and only then they can get a car. While if we look into the other side, the electric vehicles, they get subsidized. So the Chinese government is really pushing. Now in some areas in Europe and in America, we can see that this is not the case, especially in Europe. But in China, that's the case. They will force the whole market to transit. And that's really good because China is not going to be reliant on petrol from any of the petrol economies, which means China will be still able to sell their products like vehicles, like EV vehicles, perhaps hybrids as well to some extent, to countries now that are producing petrol. But China is not going to be reliant on that. Now, we can see that different events around the world, like wars, can cause the petrol to go up and down, but the renewable energy is there. So as long as we manage to build enough storage space, shout out that Tesla is doing exactly that, and now CATL is joining the race. They will also produce big, massive batteries to stabilize the grid and do exactly what Tesla is doing. So the competition is a good thing. Elon Musk himself said it. If we create the competition, we're going to create a market that the prices are cheaper, more affordable, and for a mass production. So to avoid this destabilization of resources like oil and petrol and diesel and whatnot, then we do need to transit. And also, from a health perspective, we know that there are hundreds of thousands of people that are dying every year from polluting air. So we can see that the world is transiting to a future where this is going to be gone. But how can we prognose? What do we think about the future? Is it coming? Because in America and in Europe, they say that all the internal combustion engine cars sales are skyrocketing again, they're moving back. Let's put it that way. It is a cycle process, and also the government incentive needs to be into the right position. We do know that legacy automakers have been here for a long time. We do know that they have done lobbying, and we do know that there are so many decision makers in all European countries that this is putting Europe on the back of the map. While in China, you've got one government. The government says we need to transit to renewable energy, and the whole country does it. Now in Europe, it's a little bit more tricky. It's a bit more political. It's a bit more about who is there, what kind of jobs are currently there, and so on and so forward. In America, you've got similar situation. It's slightly easier because the federal government can decide to support electrification as a transportation, and also as a renewable energy sources. And we have actually a bill that Joe Biden has managed to pass. So we can see again that the world is moving towards that, but also we can see how fast it is happening. While Europe is lagging behind, China is pushing towards 50%. But countries like Norway, they are already above 80% of all new electrical vehicles of any type are electric vehicles. So this is super important. We can see that a country that has more money and has decision makers in one place, and they see the benefits of the electrification, and they are moving the whole economy towards it, then they can really make it. In the world, according to some data, we have between 7 and 9 countries that are using energy that is fully renewable, which means those countries now can really focus on, wow, if we can scale that as well, and we move to electrification and electric vehicles that is completely renewable, we're going to be super independent. The air is going to be cleaner, and the drivers will be safer. With the features that electric vehicles are having, we will start seeing less and less accidents on the road, because the vehicles will get smarter in time. Especially Tesla cars. So you can see that you can have a car like you might have purchased a car like 2 years ago. It is still getting better. New updates are coming, new options are coming. The latest update is that you can see your video of your car's cameras on your phone. So we definitely know that this transition is going to happen. The cars are better, they are safer, and they are cleaner. If you look the data in Norway, and then you turn around and you see the data in China, and then you look towards United States and Europe, we do know what is happening. What are the odds that all the cars that are electric will stop and the trend will reverse, and everybody will say, no, we want dirty cars, we want dirty air, we want cars that are petrol based, and of course we want to pay to different countries to control us. Of course, this is simply not going to happen. So the EV growth is there. The media keeps saying that it's not happening, but it is happening. It will continue to happen. And China, for example, expected to reach 50% in 2028. They have crossed this in the first 2 weeks of this month 4 years earlier. This is 4 years earlier. This is a big number. I do believe that if the data continues to prove us wrong, that means the adoption now is happening way faster than anyone anticipated. So we can see the exponential growth. But what will happen when China is producing all these millions of electric vehicles and the market is suddenly saturated, so they sell and they cover their whole market, or at least over 80%. What will happen with the excessive cars or the growth of the companies there? I believe this will be a massive explosion of cheap, very good electric vehicles that are going to start flooding Europe and potentially South America and other places, of course. India is also a place that they might go to. Africa, we'll see. However, we know that the EV story is far from dead, and the narrative and the earnings of this quarter for some people are way, way too important. Tesla still remains a top talent company, and in the world at the moment, all of the very best engineers are choosing two companies at a position 1 and a position 2, and that is SpaceX and Tesla. So if you have the best and the brightest mind in the world, and you've got a backing of the finances and understanding of the business that Elon is having, worrying about the quarter of Tesla price and how it's going to go up or down, it doesn't mean much. But if the price just collapses and goes down, it means a lot for people like me, because then I can use my savings to buy even more Tesla stock. If you like my content, make sure that you like and subscribe it. Click onto the notification bell so you never miss another episode. I'll see you into the next one.